Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Mr. Jeff Gerard, and we're talking about your family's finances. We just had guest Carrie Sampson on the phone from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce out of Washington, D.C., talking about some of the programs called Talent Pipeline Management. You understand, Jeff, that all of us have career aspirations when you're in high school or college. It doesn't mean you're always going to end up there, right? I think That's you want to be a professional baseball player, and I'm still waiting for my call from NASA as an astronaut.
Yeah, I stopped waiting for that call. So.
Really? So yeah. When do I stop? Anytime.
I stopped about 20 years ago, but it might be on my face because I still want to be a baseball player.
The next step is going to be needing to train up for something other than what you're currently doing, or if you're in the middle of changing careers, for some of you, you've been forced to make those changes, whether it's a severance package, so they gave you 3 months or 6 months or 3 weeks, whatever it might be, or whether it's some type of a program where you decide to say, I've gone as far as I can in this career, it's time for me to make a change. You can do those things through our local College of the Canyons and in their partnership with the Talent Pipeline Management System. Let me give you an idea of what some of the programs are that are out there. You may have a desire for construction management. I've always said one of my biggest regrets is not knowing or learning how to build a house or a business, building or something physical, because those skills that are required, they're not difficult. It's not complicated, but it's brand new. Right?
Sure.
I mean, a lot of people know how to do it, so it can't be like, being a neurosurgeon or something. But it is its own world.
It is, yeah.
And you have to know the details. You believe it or not, you're going to have to know some geometry, some physics involved. In addition to all of that, of course, math. Well, those are some foundations that if you don't have in place, I don't think you can ever end up working in that career field.
Right.
Interior design, construction management, culinary arts. We can go on and on. Let's go over a couple.
But I'm just saying that the idea that you have more skills and more things to think about that encompass that, or that industry or that job encompasses. You didn't mention logic. You can't start at the top, and if you're building a house, for instance, you have to start at the bottom. You have to have the right foundation, and I think that's a great analogy for a lot of the other ideas that are out there when it comes to having a job or building yourself up to a place where you can actually get a job. There was a Facebook post this morning about this disparity between, and it's very much so what Carrie was talking about from the Chamber of Commerce, is businesses want something when they're looking for talent, when they're looking for prospect employees, they have a need to fill. And then over here on the other side, we have students entering college, leaving high school. They kind of just have this mentality that I'm just going to go and going to figure it out when I get there and see what the job market looks like. Well, heck, what you're planning for today may very well change in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years when you get out of school. Now you've got this grandiose degree, which is wonderful, but are you employable? You're one of two things. You're either really overly qualified or too qualified for a lot of the jobs out there because you're waiting for that, and you sit unemployed because you're waiting for that dream job, but maybe there aren't enough of those, and you prepared for something in such a nebulous fashion that you don't really have anything tangible to fill a spot or a need, unless you're one of 100 or even 100,000 people going for a handful of jobs. A family member of mine has spent 3 years just trying to get into a particular industry and in a job, and he has all of the qualifications. He just started his job Monday this week, but it took him almost 3 years to attain that job. And that's not even with a degree. That was a special set of skills and tests and a pool that he got called from of over 10,000 people. So look at all of the people that are going for this one or two or even a handful of jobs, and they think that that's their dream job. Well, how did you prepare for that leading up to that point? And that's the disparity that they're trying to close. That gap between with the talent pipeline management is between the needs of the employers and then what people are preparing themselves for. They don't know the questions to ask, so how can they ever answer them?
And I don't think most people even realize that you're going through this process, and at the end you finally get hired, and then you say, you know what? I didn't like this job after all. And now you've spent months and maybe even years preparing and educating yourself. And now you're there and you say, well, it's not my favorite job anymore. So there's an important part to this process of knowing that you're going to have to retrain couple of times in your life. That's just statistically speaking. And if that's really the case, then embrace it and prepare now. Prepare and understand that you are part of a process and a history of learning things that may not normally be a part of your life, right? These are things that are not, if you will, easy to go back to school when you're 35, 45, or 55 years old.
It's not.
Yeah.
You have time. You have to have balance. If you have a family that's growing, financial obligations, everybody can put a bunch of obstacles in the way. But that's really just the way of saying, I'm not going back.
Yeah,
and it really may be a need that's been long awaited. So doing this ahead of time. For the young listeners out there, this is a great opportunity for you to get involved in a sense that you get to look at when these businesses get together in this collaborative effort, if you will, they're telegraphing what their needs are for the future. Now, it might be a 2-year or even a 3 or 4 year need or projection of what's needed, and that may change. But being a bit nimble throughout your college life, your focus can change somewhat. But as long as you're not just going for the degree, quote unquote, then I think you're going to actually attain something that's going to be useful on the other end. Because you do need an exit strategy. And for the folks that are listening that have kids in college, make sure that it's not just all about the degree.
And the books. That's
and
right.
the books. That's right. So we're going to take a quick break and come right back, continue with your family's finances. I'm Jeff Gerard along with Arif Halaby, your host, every week at this time. Safer Money Hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome to the show. Back here, Arif Halaby, Jeff Gerard. As we finish up this hour of the program, we're talking about your family's finances. Of course, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, our guest earlier in the program. The bottom line with understanding the talent pipeline management is there is a collaboration. There's a group of employers in similar industries and fields will get together and they'll say, you know what we're finding that our employees or that the folks coming to train for this job or the new jobs or that are coming to apply for the jobs are missing some key components, such as an understanding in this particular software that's new and upcoming, or the ability to use this particular machine. A friend of mine is in manufacturing, and they just spent $1 million on a piece of equipment.
Wow.
It's amazing to me, $1 million. And I happened to be at his place as they were unloading it. And I'm watching this thing unload. He goes, Arif, how much do you think that costs? I don't know what these things run. He says, $1 million. Wow. I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, it allows us to make these little parts that do this. I said, well, who even knows how to learn to run this thing? I mean, I don't care how much you spend. I'm not going to figure this thing out. And he said that the manufacturer will supply training to a few key people, but that's about it. So let's say that person dies or retires, or now who's training the trainer, right? So the manufacturer sold the deal. They're gone. They made their money. So what kind of arrangement do you have to continue to train? Now, if that piece of equipment finds itself in more and more various manufacturers, wouldn't it make sense for those manufacturers to want people that are trained in that equipment? And wouldn't you as an employee want to be able to walk into a job interview and say, oh, by the way, you know that machine that is often used in our industry? I'm trained and certified in it. That's what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has started to put together through organizations like our Chamber of Commerce and our College of the Canyons. I've pulled up a few of the different programs right here at COC. So I want you to send me an email, and I'll send you a list of these programs. Certainly, you can go to College of the Canyons. It's through the Career Technical Education site. And there is a group of folks that are put together to understand everything, and you're going to like this. I know it might be a little late, maybe a little early, but wine studies. Do you know that there's such thing as wine studies? The sommeliers today, the amount of wine being consumed, doing it the right way, I don't know what that means, but doing it the right way.
I'm sure there is a right way.
Yeah, and understanding what that means. My gosh, do you realize that everything from paralegal, plumbing technologies, these are jobs that are not going to be exported. You know, they can export my health insurance customer service person, but if my plumbing needs to be fixed, or my electrical, or my roof, you can't send that job, I don't care, to China or the Philippines or Mexico. You can't send it anywhere.
Yeah, next we'll have dentists working on your teeth over the phone, right?
That's right.
No,
not that one, the other
one.
Oh, too late. Okay, so plan B, right?
You're going to have to actually show up. You know, and I think this kind of what you almost have here is almost a trade school type of mentality. Go for something that is going to be because look, I get it, the college experience. I get, that people come out well-rounded, or at least that's the hope, is that they have a range of things that they're exposed to across the breadth of the education system, and then come out with a focus, right? Now you'd say, well, Jeff, we already do that anyway. Why? But no, go in with something in mind, more so than just the degree. Like I've said earlier, what skill are you going to obtain? Because I think the skill part is so lacking when people come out of school and they're decorated with, degrees and, hopefully not too many student loans, but where's the tangible value? The degree, in my mind, affords you opportunities to get in front of prospect employers that you maybe would not have had otherwise. You were afforded that opportunity, that interview, or that privilege to apply because of that piece of paper or that degree. And I don't want to minimize it to a piece of paper, but you get what I'm saying. But the skill part, where is that? That's the tangible part where the rubber meets the road. Knowing those softwares, knowing those processes, knowing those equipment protocols when you enter the job force, that's the most important part.
Look, think of it like this. The Boy Scouts have merit badges. That means you have met a minimum level of qualification to say that you could earn the badge for that field, whether it's welding or auto repair or citizens of the world, citizen of the nation. You could do everything from salesmanship, electronics. The purpose of that is simple. It's to get you a taste, basic knowledge, decide if it's right for you.
Right.
I think college may be one step above that, but not much more. Because when I graduated the police academy, you know what they said? Think of it this way. Kid, forget about everything you learned, and this is the streets. Well, you don't forget about everything you learned, of course. But you do understand that there is a difference between practical application and study, right? That book knowledge. Take a look at the talent pipeline management system. U.S. Chamber of Commerce is helping make that happen. You can go to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce website or go to thetalentsupplychain.org. Thetalentsupplychain.org. Thanks again to Carrie Sampson at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Go to College of the Canyons, also our Chamber of Commerce, the local Santa Clarita Chamber of Commerce, for more information. I'm Arif Halaby. This is Jeff Gerard. We are here every week at this time for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby. Thanks for joining us.